If you've been fighting against yourself, self-sabotaging, procrastinating, or not achieving the goals that you really, really want to achieve, that means that your identity is conflicted. That there's a part of you that wants to stay comfortable, and there's a part of you that wants to achieve those goals, and they're both fighting against each other. You have two separate identities with two separate goals, and you're the vessel for these identities. And what this leads to is just chaos, uncertainty, self-sabotage, repeating the same cycles again. Life feels like an uphill battle. It doesn't feel easy. It feels like getting to where you need to go is a struggle. Understanding how identity will shape your reality and how you can actually change your identity is an essential part of making life more enjoyable, of achieving your goals. Because identity is at the root. A lot of people try to solve the symptoms, like figuring out different tactics for organization, trying to even figure out what exactly they're going to do, refining their plans endlessly, thinking about what they should do, rather than embodying an identity that creates those results as a consequence of just existing. And that might sound a bit confusing if you're new to understanding the importance of identity. But essentially what your identity does is it filters reality in a way that can be harmful or helpful to your goals. So I'll give an example to make it a bit more concrete. If you have an anxious thought, that could just be an anxious thought in of itself. That's completely fine, and everybody has anxious thoughts. But if you identify as somebody with anxiety, or you are an anxious person, what happens is you end up ruminating more on that thought. You latch onto it. Another example is if you see sugary foods or junk food or snacks just laying there on the counter, depending on your identity, that food, so that stimuli will be interpreted differently by your mind. So for example, if you're a very health conscious person, you understand that there's processed sugars in there and trans fats and all of this stuff, you might look at that food and you might not even see it as food. You might just interpret it, your brain might just interpret it as, oh, that's not option. That's not option for me because I'm this type of person. I'm a healthy person. On the flip side, another example could be working out. So some people approach working out with enthusiasm and enjoyment. They can't wait to work out. And other people dread the experience. And the difference is identity. You need to understand that the stimuli of working out, like doing a rep or doing a squat, is exactly the same. But the way the person's brain is interpreting it is completely different. And so this is identity. This is the importance of identity. If you can shape your identity, you can shape your relationship to the world in a positive or a negative way. And you get to choose. You get to choose what type of identity you want to create. You can cultivate your own identity when you become conscious of the mechanisms by which identity is created. So the first step to changing your identity is first becoming conscious that, yes, I have an identity. And this identity has been created unconsciously without me having a say. So your environment, your parents, your friends, your society that you grew up in have projected a bunch of beliefs onto you. Imagine yourself as a blank canvas, and you've been painted with the world's expectations and judgments. So if you're not a person who likes to work out, that's been projected onto you. If you're a person who's afraid of success or money, or you think money is evil, that's been projected onto you. All of these things have been painted onto you as the canvas. And now, the first step is you become conscious that these are beliefs, and a lot of them are unconscious beliefs. So you bring them to your conscious mind. You see what are the specific fears that you have, because your fears are the edge of your identity, of what you take yourself to be. So as soon as you brush up against something that is outside of your identity, you will know because you will be afraid. Fear is there to maintain what you identify with. And so notice your fears and you will notice and find your identity. And then what you have to do is you have to choose a new identity. Think about it. What are your goals? What do you want to achieve in this life? What type of person achieves those goals naturally as a consequence of living? That is the type of person you want to be. And so you choose this identity that you want. And then it's a gradual process of leaning into the fears that you currently have, uncovering those beliefs, letting them go, and then gently, and I mean gently, reaffirming the type of person that you want to be. So if you want to be someone who enjoys working out, you slowly reaffirm that while letting go of the fears that you have currently about working out. So for me, I can give an example. I completely changed my perception on sugar. So now when I see sugar, I don't view it as a viable option for food. I completely rewired my identity by researching a lot about sugar, understanding all of the different downsides of it, and then just basically reaffirming that I'm not a person who eats sugary foods. And that became a permanent shift in my identity. And you can do this for anything. And with some things, it's more difficult because the beliefs are more ingrained and just deeper rooted. But you can do this with anything. And just to touch again on why this is important and why you would want to do this, if you can't make progress in life, if you've been stuck in the same cycle, it's because you've been attached to that identity, the identity of someone who's struggling, who's the victim, and maybe you have cycles where you jump above and you're doing really great and then you crash and you keep returning back to this baseline. So if you imagine your peaks and your troughs, there's a baseline, and that baseline is your identity, what you're willing to tolerate, in a sense, what you take yourself to be. So everybody's baseline would be different. So for one person, their baseline could be running 5K every single day. That could be their baseline. That's their bare minimum that their identity allows them to do. And for somebody else, their bare minimum might just be laying in bed for 5 hours a day and scrolling. That's their bare minimum. Any higher than that or any lower than that, and they feel uncomfortable. So your identity shapes all of these different things. And it's like a rubber band effect. So you have a goal, and your goal will shape your identity or what type of person you want to be, essentially. So if your goal, for example, is to start a really successful business, you must take on the identity of a successful businessman or businesswoman. And that identity will slingshot you towards that goal. And it simply depends on your goal. So the sky is truly the limit. You set a goal and then you set a identity, or you choose an identity. You really think about it. And I really want to emphasize this because I didn't understand how important this was. But if you can't imagine being a person that achieves that goal, you will not achieve that goal. If you can't imagine it, if you can't embody a type of person that would achieve those goals you set out, you will not achieve those goals. Your identity will not allow you to achieve those goals. You won't think you're deserving of those goals. So if it's buying a house, making a bunch of money, having a beautiful relationship, if you do not believe that you are the person that those things happen to, they won't happen to you. It's as simple as that. Your belief and your identity will completely shape your reality. And there's no way to escape this. You have to feel deserving of something for it to happen. It's just such an important point that took me a really long time to internalize, and the implications of it are still deepening more and more each day, because there is some crazy implications. It means you're literally creating your reality, and you have the power to create whatever reality that you wish. And that's a big thing. That's a really big thing. It will shift you from going through life as a victim to feeling self-empowered. So just to recap, because I think I went all over the place and there's a lot of stuff we spoke about. Changing your identity is the essence of being able to achieve the goals that you want in your life. The only reason you haven't achieved those goals right now is because your identity does not align with those goals. Your identity has not allowed you to achieve those goals. If you were the type of person that does make money, that does have a beautiful relationship, and that feels completely natural and normal, that would be your reality right now. When you become conscious of identity, you can start understanding and identifying the certain narratives in your mind that create your identity, and you can start letting go of them. You'll know that you're brushing up against your identity or the limits of your identity when you come into contact with fear. As you lean into this fear and let go of it and choose new identities that you've decided based on your goal, you will transform into a new person. And there'll be a rubber band effect where you get slingshotted towards your goal as a natural consequence of existing. Your mind will filter out the things that align with your new identity and bring you more of that. This is the essence of identity. So that's everything. If you need help finding your purpose or executing on it, your life's purpose, or you want to join a community of like-minded people, check out the links down below. And for now, peace and love.